We'll start today's meeting with the approval of the minutes of the last meeting, September 29th. Can I get a motion to approve? Second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. We're going to move right on to recognitions.
Yes.
Barb?
Two today. First up, Mr. Cordero. Rich Cordero, 20 years of service.
That's
You gotta loosen up. It's not that bad. I mean, you got all dressed up.
It's been a great 20 years.
It has. Did you think we'd make it?
Some days.
So Rich is superintendent of special services. We keep changing his title. Seems like daily.
Yeah.
But right now it's special services. But Rich came to Cdta a little over 20 years ago after managing a chain of gas stations in the Troy area, and a family of friends said, "Hey, Cdta is hiring if you want something a little bit more stable." And he did, and he ended up, like most people did 20 years ago, working part-time weekends in Star. That lasted 3 or 4 months, and then on to full-time employment in Star. And then it's the traditional, you hear this story over and over again, right? Then to fixed route operations in Troy, where he claims he knew every single bus route like the back of his hand. Claims. We've never tested that knowledge. But he's done that, and then moved into transportation supervision, road supervisor, where you really, learn the operation because you're directing it. You have to understand it. Who didn't take a left, who didn't take a right. Working with customers, solving a lot of disputes, getting in the middle of that kind of thing. Basically, the eyes and ears on the street, and Rich did that for several years. Then he and I actually went back and forth this morning to double check. Just about 10 years ago, he was promoted to management. Assistant superintendent in transportation. Probably where, we talked about this, probably where he learned the most in a short period of time. Working downstairs in transportation, basically doing a lot of different things, right? But it was obvious that he had some particular talents, scheduling, street operations, things like that. And we've leaned on him over the years now to sort of use those special skills that he developed to help in a variety of different spots. He then was promoted to manager of safety and training. He spent 2 or 3 years doing that. And I remember talking to him about that, and I said, "Listen, that's a great career opportunity." He was worried about leaving transportation. I said, "Well, now you have operations background, you have safety, understanding of all the safety issues, plus the training thing." He did that for a couple of years, returned to transportation, and is really now the jack of all trades in the department. Right now, he's handling the transition of our payroll system in transportation. He's going to be fully automated. So envision now when a bus operator taps the fare box, turns the bus on, also turns on the accounting system basically to track time and to check time against schedules and everything that's being built, and then funnels it up to payroll. That project is so complicated that someone in this room told me 2 years ago that I would be given a year's notice before that started, because the advice was you want to retire, because it's going to turn the place upside down because it's so complicated. Most of the people in this room don't even know it's happening. A lot of the credit goes to Rich Cordero. He has really been sort of the glue between guys in IT, the people in payroll, the operations people. It's gone off without a hitch. He says he stuck with us for 20 years because every time his gut tells him that this is the right place for him. I think he's right. In his downtime, he tries to keep up with his kids and their sports career, or often catching a Mets game or a Giants game. That must be brutal.
It's brutal.
I mean, the only thing worse would be a Yankee fan, right? At the floor, do all you want. No plans for retirement. This guy's a young guy. He's got many more years here at Cdta. and I think a lot of years to give us a lot more than what it's given us. So, Rich, 20 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to go, GPS didn't exist back then, so I didn't know all the routes.
Mr. Tom Cleveland, Senior. Okay, all you Yankee fans, this is when you're going to get me back. Right? So, born and raised in the Bronx. Right? And worked at Yankee Stadium. Yeah, the triumvirate, right?
Hot dogs here, you get a dog, it's dog time.
I feel let Tom tell me that. And he will, by the way. Have you ever been accused of being quiet?
No.
No. Okay, so Tommy Cleveland, this is a little different story. Retired Schenectady bus operator. Turned part-time star operator. I think you followed along here that we're trying to expand our part-time fleet, and we think the best farm team, so to speak, for the part-time team is the full-time team. And when you retire, if you want to still stay active and work a few hours here or there, this is a possibility. How long have you been doing it?
What, star now?
Part-time.
Well, I retired officially.
Yeah.
I retired officially April 1st, and then Stephanie called me up about 13 days later and said, "Would you like to do star?" Here I am.
So, he's already told you about growing up in the Bronx and Yankee Stadium and all that kind of stuff, but he and I have talked about this a lot. He's had an interesting journey here. Joined the Coast Guard, spent a few years as a lineman, eventually made his way to Plattsburgh before coming south again and dipping his toe in the transit industry. I'd love to tell you that it started here, but it didn't. It started in Glens Falls, at the Greater Glens Falls Transit District. As a trolley operator, seasonal trolley operator in the summer, right?
Well, the first year I did the, what they call the Lake George run.
Right.
From downtown Glens Falls through the $1 Million Beach up to Bolt Atlantic.
Well, the reason I asked is because all this summer, as you recall, we helped out Glens Falls and sent a lot of bus operators up to do that same thing where Tom, learned a little bit about transit. But in October of 1996, Tom made the move and joined Star, interestingly enough, as an operator in Star. 2 years later,
Mark is now joining.
Hi, Mark. Fixed route operations, spent the majority of his career in Schenectady. And as you can tell, this is a people guy. I don't remember ever getting an issue, a complaint, an issue, a concern about.
They might have hid it from you a little bit.
You're retired. Nobody's going to check. It's sort of like your grades in college. Nobody cares what you got your degree. But listen, this is an A1 bus operator. If we had 450 Tom Clevelands, there really wouldn't be any issues. They might not even need guys like me. But his love of Cdta has rubbed off on his family. The son works here, 8 years actually under his belt. I gotta think that a lot of it is on Tom's okay and thumbs up. Tom and his wife Rena live in Scotia. They're approaching their 40th wedding anniversary. You're just kids.
January 30th, 82. I don't know how she put up with me all these years, but you're right.
I say the same thing. 4 grown children, 4 grandchildren, keep him pretty busy. When the kids aren't keeping him busy or he's playing with them, you can find Tom at Y, keep him fit. The hardest part of his day, this is kind of interesting, the hardest part of his day is trying to beat the traffic home. Otherwise, everything is usually a rosy picture for Tom. He's hoping to stay with us for a while in this new part-time capacity, or quarter-time, three-quarter time, whatever we call it. So far, so good. But congratulations, Tom. 25 years of great service in spite of being a Yankee fan.
Okay. Thank you. No. Okay. Thank you.
Two great guys. Two guys are they're hardworking. I remember seeing Tom when he was, I thought, checking out. And I said, what are you doing? So I'm checking back in. It's like, we want that. You know, I think that farm team is, we're learning we could better use it. So thanks for that. And Rich, thanks for proving Chris Desley wrong, at least so far. Chris was the one who's wrong. I can tell you.
Outed.
I had outed because, listen, the complexity of this thing, we've been down this road a few times. You know, this may sound simple, but it has all these layers. And, it is complex, but Rich Cordero, and also, you know, shout out to Tom Goose for shepherding this thing along the way. And then all the people in operations and payroll department. They're not, well, they're represented by the manager, but Tracy Cdta. They're doing a fabulous job. They haven't told me if it'll ever be done, but they're doing a fabulous job.
All right, good. Great. We have a very busy agenda today. We'll start with the committee reports, and I'll begin with the Board Operations Committee that met on October 13th at 9:15 a.m. here at 110. We reviewed the committee agendas that are on the meeting for today. We discussed the board retreat, which will be held on November 19th at the Desmond. Mark Ash from Transpro's been invited to share his insights on measuring value, performance, and relevance. And as we've been discussing, ridership cannot be the central component of our performance reports. Mobility options and community involvement need to be measured and reported on. So we're committed to expansion and providing great customer experiences as we move out of the pandemic. The retreat discussion will focus on these matters. CARD also provided us with a COVID update. We're making great progress on the vaccination front with more than 80% of our workforce now vaccinated. There's a few pockets that the team is focused on, but Cdta is moving in the right direction. As you know, we have a facility study underway, so we talked about our facilities, other components that need to be included in the study. Our goal is to make sure that our facilities perform as designed for us to carry out our work. Identifying preventive maintenance will be key to preventing bigger headaches down the road. And lastly, we discussed cybersecurity at Cdta, very interesting presentation by Thomas. We heard a detailed report about the things we do to keep the organization safe. IT has provided employees with educational opportunities that are constant and consistent. They're designed to get employees to learn about the red flags that come up with cyber attacks and how to keep Cdta safe and secure. Really interesting stuff. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 8th, 9:15 a.m. here at 110 Waterville Avenue and Microsoft Teams. If anybody has any questions, I can answer them. If not, we'll move on to the Performance Monitoring Audit Committee. Denise, you have the floor for a while.
Thank you.
Another busy agenda.
So we had quite a busy agenda. The Performance Monitoring and Audit Committee met on October 20th here at 110 Waterville and on Microsoft Teams. We have 8 consent agenda items today, and so the first one is approval of a purchase of articulated buses. In preparation of our Washington Western BRT line, we need to place an order for 16 articulated buses. We awarded a 5-year contract to New Flyer in October of 2020 for 60-foot articulated buses, and the staff recommends the purchase of 16 articulated buses for $823,340 per vehicle, plus an additional $5,100 per bus for an extended warranty. So we need a motion to approve a purchase of 16 articulated buses to New Flyer for a total cost of $13,335,040.
I get a motion on that resolution. Thank you, Joe. Second by Peter. Any discussion about the contract with New Flyer?
No, I'm glad I was wrong about the articulated buses. I didn't think they'd fly, but Farm said they would.
When did you say that, Joe?
Years ago.
Many years ago.
Years ago.
Didn't say
Last
last
time he was
week.
here.
Oh, yeah. Hey, just an FYI here, it's in the note there, or in the write-up, but this is funded with the Washington Western PRT.
Right.
Big purchase. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor of resolution 41 say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
noes? Any abstentions? It's approved.
Okay, our next item is approval of a contract extension for Upstate Transit Services. We contract with Upstate Transit Service to provide the.
Sir,
I'm sorry, Mark, did you have something?
I was muted, but I abstained.
Okay.
Okay. So, we contract with Upstate Transit Service to provide the Northway Express service. This contract expires in November, and because of COVID, service levels have changed constantly, making it difficult to develop an RFP for a new contract. Obviously, it's hard to predict what the service is going to be. So staff is recommending a 1-year extension of the current contract. Upstate has agreed to hold the same price as last year. We need a motion to award a 1-year contract extension to Upstate Transportation of Saratoga for the Northway Express service for an amount not to exceed $1.5 million. I can make that motion.
Thank you, Denise. Can I get a second on resolution 42?
I'll second
Thank you, Mike. Any comments, discussion?
Pretty straightforward stuff, you know, the climate is just not good to be out on the street looking for vendors. And they are a long-term partner. If I were to predict, you know, we would probably be awarding a multi-year contract. We also want to take a look at the contract itself, how it's structured, and maybe give us some more flexibility to align with, you know, some of the recruitment issues we're having. You know, perhaps we can shift work around a little easier. So I think when we do the RFP, it'll be a little bit more open. Might do some things that haven't been in the past.
Okay, then we'll call the question. All those in favor of resolution 42 say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Resolution is approved.
Okay, our next item is contract approval for rail station maintenance and repairs. Rensselaer Rail Station parking deck has issues in several areas and is in need of repair. The rehabilitation will address the separation of the membrane along the joints on the top deck. Torrential rains this summer caused damage that needs to be addressed prior to the winter season. 2 vendors were engaged to provide proposals. Only one could complete the scope of work. Staff recommends PCC contracting for this work. They have extensive experience with restoration and new construction projects. And we need a motion to award a retroactive procurement for the Rensselaer Rail Station deck repairs for $156,000 to PCC Contracting of Schenectady.
Who is the contractor? I didn't hear.
PCC. Don't know if anybody can
They're very,
elaborate.
they're
Are they?
a great contractor. Excellent choice.
I'm not familiar with them.
I am.
Good. Yes, I'm sure you are.
Can we get a motion on resolution 43?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jackie. Any questions about the deck repairs? Keep them eyes open.
Yeah, for those of you that aren't at the PM meetings, a couple of you I've tried to fill in, but you know, this is quite honestly the ongoing saga of the top deck. So we need to get it patched up, so to speak. But we're coming off, you know, a major investment. So we're also going to engage, haven't settled on yet whether it's going to be an engineering firm or a contracting firm, who will not have anything to do with future projects, rather than be an advisor to us. A lot of theories as to what's happening there. Some of them may be right, some of them may be wrong here, but what you have is, you know, a parking garage and the membrane, the top deck, is an active roadway, or as Joe Sporana said, it's akin to a bridge.
Yeah.
And so we have a bridge as the top deck. It probably needs to be looked at and treated differently. And or, you know, we may have to accept that this is really our life moving forward, that every couple of years you're gonna have, you know, a repair job on top of a repair job, and then every 5 years you're gonna have a major construction job. But we need to get it patched up first. This action will do that. But I think, you know, bringing in some advisors who have no interest in, you know, bidding on a job or proposing on a job, but can give us a little advice, it's perplexing to us. Not really unexpected, but perplexing. It's an act, it's a roadway, it's a bridge.
When might this work get started?
Go ahead. We're nearly complete with the work at this point.
Okay.
So
How it would be delivered.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do for a long-term solution. You know, we're going to be using that garage indefinitely, and we need a long-term solution. So I think we're doing the right thing there, Carm.
Yep. And Georgie, I don't know if we'll come to a solution, so to speak, like we know exactly, but what we'd like to know is be able to present the committee and the board with the game plan. So you know that every 5 years or every year, or every 18 months, here's what we're gonna have to do, here's the investment that we're gonna have to make. You know, it's the crown jewel of the parking network over there. I mean, you know, the majority of the people want to park inside. No kidding, right? And it generates, you know, a significant amount of revenue for us. So, you know, that's the yin to the yang.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of traffic dropping people off and stuff, so.
Yeah,
it's just,
there's some issues.
Yeah.
Joe and I talked about, and you know, Joe and I talked about that after we talked about Dennis and Chris. We talked about, you know, the joints, and they move. Well, come to find, Chris, yeah, that's one of the things we're already looking at. You know, those were not repaired when we did the membrane work.
How old is it at this point, as a reminder?
Well, the garage opened before the rail station. Those of us old enough to remember, it actually opened about a year and a half before. So, you know, 2000. It's 20 years old.
Yeah.
And that top deck, you know, takes a beating every day.
Yeah.
Mark did a lot of study on that, and got a lot of advice when we talked.
Yep.
We thought it was a good job.
Yep. Yep. But we're just not happy with. We don't want to keep coming back with a surprise. Like, gee, we didn't know about this. So at least what we'd like to do is, you know, clarify sort of what the path is and move forward.
Okay, anything else? Yes, Mark.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Just in general, you know, this was due to torrential rains this summer. You know, the scientists have been saying for decades now that severe weather is going to become both more frequent and more extreme. So, you know, looking forward, our specifications should anticipate even worse storms going forward.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the resiliency planning. It's a great point there. Even with that facility-wide study that we're doing too, that should be taken into account in the bigger picture, you know.
Yep, noted.
Thank you. All those in favor of resolution 43 say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. Any abstentions? It's approved. Thank you.
Okay, our next item is approval of a contract for workers' comp and third-party administration services. We use a third-party administrator to manage workers' compensation and disability claims and to obtain excess insurance for workers' compensation. An RFP was issued and 2 proposals were received. The staff recommends a contract to Future Comp, our incumbent provider. We need a motion to award a 3-year contract with 2 optional 1-year renewals for third-party claims administration services to Future Comp of Buffalo for approximately $300,000 per year. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Denise. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Any discussion, comments about this? Necessary, I take it,
Yep.
what we do around here.
Second.
Yeah. All those in favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Resolution is approved. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we have several insurance ones, coming up here. So, the next one is the approval of contract for auto and general liability insurance. Auto and general liability insurance provides protection against claims for injury and damage to people and property caused by our operation. We are self-insured for $2 million with excess insurance coverage of $8 million and $5 million for a total of $13 million. We received one proposal for each layer for a total increase of 5.8%. We need a motion to award a one-year, $8 million excess policy with American Alternative Insurance Company, Princeton, New Jersey, and a $5 million excess policy with Allied World National Assurance Company of New York, and a non-certified acts of terrorism policy with Lloyd's of London in New York. The total premium cost is $473,690, effective November 10th, 2021. So I'll move that resolution.
Thank you, Denise. Second on that?
I'll second.
Next discussion.
Yeah, just a reminder, I think everybody knows that we're self-insured for the first $2 million, so we manage the vast, almost all of our claims. It's all managed in-house. Amanda's office handles that. Tracy McNeil is our claims manager. It's frankly amazing to me what goes on. So they engage a lot of different parts of the organization, but we essentially manage 99.9%. Every now and then we have one that gets a little dicey, but we pierced. Not pierced the $2 million. So, peace of mind, I guess. Every now and then, I get tempted to roll the dice, and they immediately talk me out of rolling the dice. It's not that, I guess $500,000 on $100 million.
Right,
If you think about it that way, $500,000 on $100 million.
Yeah.
Does this go through a broker?
Yeah, every one of these goes through. Is managed for us by our friends at Rose Kiernan, R&K. Those of you who know them do a great job. They shop the markets for us, so it's a tough market. I mean, frankly, very few firms want to insure companies like us. Even with our, I would say, stellar track record, very few companies write these policies. And Mike Krishon can elaborate.
Yeah, it is limited, out there, the companies that will, as Carm said, take on that exposure, so, really.
Our rates have been pretty good, pretty good. We always like to do better, but this market is so sensitive to, wildfires, floods. Wait a second, that has nothing to do with us. Well, it has to do with the whole environment. So, we're very happy with Rose and King. Been with them for a long, long time.
Good. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor of Resolution 45 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Resolution is approved.
Okay, our next is approval of a contract for auto physical damage insurance. Auto physical damage insures our vehicles in the event of fire, theft, and collision. The insurance cost is based on the value of our fleet. We received one proposal from our incumbent carrier, Lexington Insurance, for a $25 million occurrence limit. We also received an excess proposal for an additional $5 million to maintain our program structure of a $30 million occurrence limit. We need a motion to award a one-year contract to Lexington Insurance of Boston, Massachusetts, and Homeland Insurance of Plymouth, Minnesota, for $281,383, effective November 10th, 2021.
Is there a motion on that?
So moved.
Thank you, Kathy. Second by Georgie. Thank you. Questions, comments?
Yeah, if we get a Boston and Stanley for like $6,000, the insurance company pays, and you bring it to the shop and fix it for $4,000, is that, you don't do that?
No.
Well, there's deductibles to that, Joe, and there's $20,000 deductible for bus, physical damage to buses. So we would do that all in-house.
Oh, okay.
That's another, where Joe's going here, that's another level of complexity in the organization. We have our own, body shop, paint shop. Literally, we can put a bus back together. Literally. And then how that's all billed back, the insurance companies and Manny's office, up a $20,000 deductible.
And this is really for if there's some serious
Right.
damage where
That's,
the fleet is
right,
affected.
the fleet is,
So, yeah.
God forbid, one of our garages is, I hate to even say it, right?
Yeah.
Destroyed.
Right.
This is how we would rebuild the system.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yep. One of those, when you put your head on the pillow, you sleep.
Any other comments? All those in favor of resolution 46, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions, it's approved.
Okay, moving
One
along
more
here.
insurance.
Only one more insurance. Approval of a contract for workers' compensation excess insurance. The workers' compensation excess insurance provides protection against large claims for employee injuries occurring on the job that exceed $1 million. We are self-insured for the first $1 million. We received 3 proposals and 2 alternative self-insured retention options. Staff recommends maintaining our current program with the incumbent and lowest price proposal, which is a 13% increase. We need a motion to award a 1-year contract to Ace American Chubb at 436 Walnut Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania for $299,782, again effective November 10th of 2021. See it being here, all the insurance runs out on November 10th.
All lined up.
Can we get a motion on that?
So
Motion, thank you, Joe. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Denise.
Mike and Amanda, you want to explain how that works? When that would, I don't know who best.
As far as how this insurance works, we're basically paying any workers' compensation expense up to $1 million. And if a claim goes over $1 million, this is where this excess insurance kicks in.
Have we ever had a claim over $1 million?
We have not had one over $1 million, but we've had lower excess limits or SIRs over the past 20 years. And for instance, we just, back in 2014, we had a $400,000 SIR. And we had a claimant pierce the $400,000 SIR, and they went to $700,000. So Safety National, which was the excess carrier, paid $300,000 above our $400,000 that we paid. So it happens. We probably have a half a dozen right around the retention limits right now.
Because it's over the lifetime of the claim, right?
Correct.
So that's really what this is. It's not that it's the claim this year, it's over the lifetime of it, that it can add up to.
The lifetime of the claim.
In other words, if the person's collecting for the next 20 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, the weekly benefit, for example, is $950. So just start doing math.
Right.
You're getting close, right off the get-go. This stuff is complicated stuff, because we're working, with our TPA, we're working with 2 different insurance companies, we're working with the workers' compensation, we work with workers' compensation.
What's
What's the right word? We work.
You deal with them.
Whatever they say. We deal with, it's complicated stuff, and anybody who's dealt in this arena knows that we have the right people working with us.
And this is different than disability insurance stuff, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a whole other. Lots of stuff.
Anything else for anybody? All those in favor of resolution 47, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's approved.
Okay, I promise one last one.
You should get a medal for getting through your insurance.
Approval of the safety management system plan. At least this is not insurance. Okay. So the FDA requires all transit agencies to annually adopt a board-approved safety management plan. And this plan was first adopted by the board last year and builds off of our New York State approved safety plan that has been in place for many years. The SMS plan is a data-driven approach to mitigate risk. It establishes responsibilities, identifies risk, ensures plan implementation, and promotes safety information. The plan is included in your packets. We need a motion to approve the safety management system plan as required by the FDA.
Motion on that?
So,
Thank you, Georgie. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jackie. Any comments or questions about this?
Question. Is there a policy to encourage workers who notice potential safety issues to report them?
It's more than a policy. I'd say it's ingrained in the culture, Mark. Everywhere you go in the company, pretty much everything you do, you're reminded, you know, the old saying, if you see something, say something. You know, we've got some things that we want to make better in our safety program. We can always be better even in that, but that probably is where we're more advanced than anywhere else. And it happens all the time. People report things that, you know, get us to do something, to take an action.
Now, as a board, should we be approving it or accepting it? Because there's been problems back in the old days.
With the safety management plan?
Approving the safety plan.
I don't think it, no, I think it's fine.
Okay.
Approving it and then it'll go to,
Well, what the FTA is trying to do here is they're elevating the matter, they're elevating the issue, and they're saying that the board, and me, I have to sign it, is actively engaged, right? So we're talking, you know, we talk about safety every month. Every month there's a whole section of our performance dashboard, and then once a year they want to make sure that the board here's what the plan is, what changes were made. I think it's the right thing to do. They're elevating the issue above and beyond normal business.
Thank you.
Anything else? All those in favor of adopting the plan, say aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? It's approved.
Okay.
So Denise, I'm gonna beg your committee took longer than an hour.
No.
Really, you gotta go
We
about
did it in an hour.
All right, pretty good. Keep
So,
going.
okay, we have two administrative discussion items, our usual, monthly management report, was, provided by Mike Collins, he provided a 6-month review of the monthly management report. We're in a positive financial position through the first 6 months. Federal funds have plugged gaps in revenue lines and expenses that resulted from COVID. We have used the CRISA funding, and have roughly $7 million in 5307 still budgeted. Almost all expenses are under budget for the year. We anticipate finishing the year in a positive financial position with flexibility and options for balancing the fiscal year 2023 budget. And the monthly management report is in your packet, so if you have any questions, those can go to Mike. I don't know if you need to add anything, Mike.
There you go.
It's all good. It's all from the tape.
Any questions for Mike? Okay. And then finally, our monthly non-financial report. Chris Desany provided the non-financial report. Ridership is improving as the universal agreement arrangements kick in and college students return. Our fixed route ridership is up 30% for the year. Star ridership is at 92% of the pre-pandemic levels. Fixed route on-time performance was 75%, and STAR on-time performance was at 79%. Missed trips are high this month and will be in the foreseeable future as we balance new service and manpower. Preventable accidents are down to 28 this month, and non-preventable accidents are at 14. Complaints are high across the board due to service-related matters. And unless you have any questions for Chris on service, that concludes my report. We meet again on December 15th here at 110 Waterville and at Microsoft Teams.
Thank you so much, Denise. Any questions for Denise about the committee? Covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, that's a busy month.
The next committee report is by Jackie Falatico for Community and Stakeholder Relations.
I feel like I have a baby report. The Community and Stakeholder Relations Committee met on October 21st at 11:15 a.m. Here in person and also on Microsoft Teams. We had 2 administrative discussion items. The first, John Scherzer gave a report on the new communication tools we are using for marketing and employee engagement. Some of these include onboard infotainment, I like the terminology, infotainment, digital screens, digital displays on and off Cdta property, and an email distribution and alert system. The tools are used to share company news with employees, customers, and stakeholders. They allow Cdta messaging to be shared easier and more interactively. In the coming months, new ways to communicate with the workforce and the community will be introduced. Things like a deskless application to better connect the workforce, electric charging stations with digital info displays are also being evaluated. The second item, Jamie Caslow gave the monthly media and community engagement report. During the last month, Cdta earned 15 media placements across television, radio, and online platforms. Some of the stories highlighted included expanded flex service in southern Saratoga County, record ridership on CDPHP cycle, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the 5th annual Pink Bus Poll to benefit the Real Men Wear Pink campaign. Jamie also highlighted upcoming events, including the NIPTA annual conference, APTA annual conference and expo, and Cdta's involvement in the annual holiday giving campaigns. The next meeting of the committee will be Thursday, December 16th at 11:15 via Microsoft Teams or here at 110 Waterville Ave.
Okay. Any questions? And we'll keep going on to the Strategic and Operational Planning Committee report from Mike Patel.
Thanks, Jamie. I too have a concise report. We have no consent agenda items and 1 administrative discussion item. We met October 21st, 12 p.m. at 110 Waterville Ave and via Microsoft Teams. Our administrative discussion item was the MOS update. Chris Desney led a conversation on how we are progressing our mobility as a service initiatives. MOS continues to be a sometimes confusing concept, the definition of which varies depending upon the source. For the sake of our purposes, we agree on delivering a suite of mobility services with a focus on customer flexibility, integrated tools, and ease of use. Challenges still exist for MOS, including policy and governance issues, stakeholder cooperation and leadership, and revenue models. We remain at MOS maturity level 1+, which is basic trip planning and payments with other modes available via separate applications. We have been in discussion with several of our existing and potential new partners about how we may advance our work. MoveIt is a globally recognized MOS provider and integrator that we feel holds promise in assisting us. We have been working with MoveIt to develop a scope that includes deployment of a white label application for trip planning, navigator payments, and customer alerts and feedback. Most importantly, we will seek to integrate 1 or more of our mobility modes, bike, scooter, flex, car sharing, etc. And we expect to advance specific award recommendations to the board in the upcoming months. So that was our brief meeting and of the committee, and that concludes my report. Our next committee meeting will be December 16th, 12 p.m., 110 Waterville Ave or via Microsoft Teams.
I thought you were going to beat Jackie, but
yeah.
Thank you, Mike. We'll move on to Carmen's report.
Thanks, Jamie. I think the committee reports give you a flavor of some of the things that are going on here, so I'll maybe touch on a couple of them or add one or two new ones. You know, recruitment, retention, and training are without doubt the top priorities here at Cdta right now. And this crosses into every department as we all work together to make Cdta better. We're changing how we recruit, we're changing how we hire, we're changing, you know, how we manage that whole process, and it's tough to change on the fly, but that's what we're doing. Human resources leads the effort, that's for sure. But we're doing everything we possibly can to bring new people, qualified new people, into the company. Job fairs, open houses, social media has been a big help. And we're getting there. You know, people ask me all the time, you know, gee, are you experiencing a shortage of bus operators? I say, no, we took on more work probably than we could have accommodated in September. That is the truth. Now we have to get ourselves to that level. We're pretty close. As of right this minute, and these numbers are literally changed sometimes by the minute, we have 16 or so bus operators ready to graduate from training and be out into the real world, so to speak, in the next week or two, give or take. We have 12, I think. Well, 12 started last week. Maybe it's down to 11. I'm not sure. No, it's still at 12. So they're a week and a half into the training course, and then we have about 18 that could grow to 20 if we're lucky, maybe more. That will start their training in November. So if you add that all up, that's a lot of people being influxed into the system by Christmas. If all goes well, that will resolve some of the issues that we've been having, some of the trip cut numbers that you see, those will abate. But then you have to talk a lot about retention, which we are. It's a whole different game today. People are, I don't want to say flip's the wrong word, but it's just amazing to me. What happened to so-and-so? They're gone. Well, what happened to those three operators? Well, they left. And sometimes there's just no rhyme or reason. We know there are some issues with the way work days are constructed. And it's not just bus operators. It's the maintenance side of the shop as well. But, human resources is managing that. We're not there because we're changing all the time. We may not ever be there, like finished, but it's tough work. And Kelly and her team are leading the way. They're doing a great job, and everyone else here is supporting it because once they tweak a procedure or a process, everyone has to change what they do and how they do it. So we're getting there. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but frankly, the tunnel is a forever tunnel. I think hiring, recruiting, and all that kind of stuff. It's forever. But I think we're up to the task. COVID-19. I was hoping that there wouldn't be a report anymore from me, but there is. Unfortunately, we have 10 positives through October, which is a little bit better than September. If the next couple days is quiet, I feel like I already jinxed it. But we're up to 122 people in the workforce that tested positive. We've developed procedures and processes around COVID, so there are people now who are devoted to that. That's all they do. But it gets in the way, right? It's always in the way now. That's probably the best way to describe it. It's just when you think you've got a little bit of breathing room, we get 3 positives, or we have to do some contact tracing, or we have to run off and isolate 4 people, or whatever it might be. Things are getting better on the vaccination front. As Denise, we're at 81%. 2 months ago, we were in the high 50s. So, that soft mandate, and that's kind of that's what I describe it, a soft mandate worked. It is working. It's whatever, it moved people to be vaccinated. We're a little different than everyone else. Everyone handles it differently. Some wait for someone to tell them you must do it. Some modify. We do what we think is right. great support by the ATU. They have been very helpful in this. It's not the case everywhere. And they've done it in their own way. I'd say quiet, steady. I don't carry in signs, get vaccinated, but they're helping us in their usual way. So all good there. Montgomery County, good news. The legislature, Montgomery County legislature, voted to amend their mortgage tax procedure, basically to add a quarter of a percent onto the mortgage tax and to join the authority. We continue to work with Division of Budget and State DOT, the Governor's Office, on the amendment to the state operating assistance formula to deliver an amount that we feel is acceptable given the service that we know we would have to provide. But I think the stars are lining up. Very productive meeting with the Division of Budget last week with Lisa Morello and her team. They knew of the issue. They were well versed, which told me that, okay, if they're well versed in the issue, that's telling me that something's going to happen. So that will just make human resources life even easier because we'll need to recruit more people to operate that service. I think I sent you, we testified at the Assembly Transportation Committee alongside our partners across the state, and that was really to address upstate issues. First time I can remember that the Transportation Committee broke off Upstate and said, hey, what are you all up to? What are your issues and problems? So that was great. It was great to see the Amsterdam mayor. He was alerted to the hearing by Assemblyman Santa Barbara, and he provided a different perspective. He's not a transportation professional. He just said, hey, listen, I've got a small city here in upstate New York with people who need to move, people who need to get the jobs. I've got a lot of employers who are looking for help, and they have no way to get there. Zero. There is no mobility here. So he complimented the testimony of the talking heads from the transit authorities. So it was good. One of Denise, I think, spoke about CDPHP cycle. I mean, the use of CDPHP cycle, just when we think we know what's going on, we get shocked again. I mean, shocked always in a good way. We're probably over 61,000 rides. This report's probably 2 weeks old. We'll probably hit 70,000 rides this year. And it's all a result of the hard work of John Scherzer, Lindsey Garney, but really I think we found something that people really want and need. And we learned during the pandemic that it became a preferred method of moving around. Jump on a bike and get to where I want to go. And it's got lasting impact. So, I think we put our finger on the right thing there. And, all of our mobility options are starting to work together. Mike talked about mobility as a service and integrating them. But, just think if you had, one information and payment source for CDPHP cycle, Cdta traditional services, flex, scooters, car share. We're close. We're close. A lot of work to do, but we're closer today. STAR, don't forget that. We have ways to marry the information delivery, reservation and scheduling process. So you can do it all sort of with a click. I make it sound a lot easier than it is. This is complicated stuff. Chris talked about that in Mike's committee. I guess it's gotten to the point where no report to the board in October would be complete without, our pink update. We've partnered with the American Cancer Society. We do it. It raises our profile, that's for sure. But we've done it year after year because of the fact that our employees love it. They want to be involved. I do the easy stuff. I wear a pink tie every day or pink socks or something like that. The American Cancer Society gives you something every year it's almost impossible not to be able for me to do my little part. But our pink bus has become sort of the star of Real Men Wear Pink. It literally has its own booking agent and stuff like that. We have a 26-foot star bus that we painted this year, which now penetrates into neighborhoods, right? Picks people up, and it just puts a smile on people's face. So, it's just nice to be associated with people who do this kind of great work. The pink bus pull, Joe Sperana represented the board. The parking lot out back, was chock full of people. We had several hundred people You know, the Albany County Sheriff's Department brought their families, I mean, little kids in the front row, you know, like it was a sporting event, you know, basically. It was wild. It was 18, 19 teams. You know, the law enforcement people have made this sort of their own internal competition. The sheriffs were here to knock off the Albany Police Department. The fire department was here to knock. You know, we've got the right formula, and you know, we raise a little bit of money, which is great. But you know, we bring people together, bring our own people. It's good to see. It's fun. You know, Jamie Caslow leads this. She's got a lot of help, but you know, she's sort of behind the scenes all the time, getting this done. Stacy is, you know, right there with her. But they've got a whole team of people now who are excited about it. That's the best part of this. But I think the best news of the month is, you know, ridership. It's been a long way back, but we're 80% back. 80% of what we were pre-pandemic. And bumping up. I think we kind of, I don't know if we're going to go much higher, maybe a little bit more, but, and we're different. Among the Upstate systems, you know, we're far and away higher than anybody else. It ranges, some of the systems are still at 45 to 50%. And it's really because our model's a little different. It doesn't make anybody right or wrong, just that our model is different. You know, we're based, you know, we built this thing based on universal access, so all the new school districts, the state of New York stuff, that bumped everything up in August, and we've been able to sustain it. Star ridership's been at 90-95% for a couple of months now of pandemic. It just shows you that Star customers rely on us a heck of a lot more than our fixed route customers do. So it shows you the importance there. Northway Express ridership starting to come back. It's, you know, bouncing back now as state workers trickle back to work. It's still an enigma to us. We're not really sure. No one's sure. You talk to one department, yeah, we're all back to work. You talk to another department, we haven't been back in 18 months. So it's sort of a hit or miss. When state workers truly come back to work, I think you'll see things change. It's not for me.
Excuse me, until they turned it off.
I think I've mentioned a couple of times, but I want to bring it to the board's attention. We have engaged a consultant to help us in a very difficult subject of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We try to have sort of do it ourselves, sort of like, you know, do it yourself remodeling. Well, you've got to understand when you're at the end of the line. We realized pretty quick we were at the end of the line. So senior leadership, which is a loosely defined team of about 20 people, and it's basically, if you look at the org charts, it sort of just draws a line. It says, okay, everybody above the line is involved. And we have gone through four 2-hour sessions. We have one more to go. It's a journey, and we're all learning. We're learning. We're having our eyes opened. We're not even to the point where we can tell you what the products will be, but we've gone through it. And thank you to everybody who's doing this. This is very difficult work. It's hard to explain. What we will do though is I've asked our consultants, our friends at Tangible, probably for after the first of the year, to put together a short, more condensed version for the board, maybe 90 minutes if they can pack it in. So at least you can understand some of the discussion, some of the things that we are talking about, we're hearing, we're learning about. Tangible's doing work with a lot of companies throughout the region. You know, so far, I would give them very high marks. I'd give, you know, the 20 people who are participating even higher marks. It pushes you to the edge of your comfort zone. It pushes you beyond sometimes. It's somewhat uncomfortable at times, but I think it's important that we do it. It's important that we are all open and more honest about these issues, especially inclusion. I think get everybody to feel more included, to feel that they can express an opinion, that they can disagree, that they can feel comfortable in all those spots. we like to think we're good, we like to think, we're Cdta, we lead the way. What we're finding out is, we're okay. But we certainly don't lead the way. And most of you know that your company, your workforce is dealing with these same issues. So, we're not alone. But we decided I thought we were dipping our toe in. I realized we're not dipping our toe in. We're about waist high.
You can't dip your toe in.
You can't dip your toe in. So we'll arrange for to set up a time where we can give it 90 minutes, hopefully. They can give you. It certainly won't be training, but it'll be, if nothing else, sort of a summary of what we've done. They'll push you a little as well. But I'm on several boards, and I've already had to do 2 board required studies. I'm DEI'd out, but it's interesting, a little uncomfortable. I'd say maybe the best way to summarize it. Not wholly uncomfortable. I think that's it. I think that's it. Looking forward to a couple things. We've got a lot of people, our people, presenting at the annual conference, which is great, right? All these people are being looked at as experts in their field. We're also the home team, so we're easier. If they know they can rely on us, if they need to fill in, one of our people will gladly talk about.
Are we open to comments?
Sure.
Okay, a couple of quick comments on the report. Number one, on COVID, the 122 positives, I think that's higher than the overall state rate of positives to population is about 13%. I know our operators are in an enclosed space with large numbers of strangers all day, so they're at somewhat elevated risk. So again, everything we can do to minimize exposure is helpful. I appreciate the fact that the displays are now showing how the proper way to wear a mask over the nose, with a showing, comparing wrong and right, so that's helpful. The statistics don't indicate how many of the positives involved hospitalization. I think the vaccine is more effective at preventing hospitalization than preventing positives. I think that data would be helpful. The other comment is on recruitment. There's an organization called the Workforce Development Institute, WBI. Their state office is in Troy. They have 10 regional directors. If our human relations people aren't in contact with them, they might be a resource. They publish annual reports. The report on 2020 was published in January, which would cover COVID-related workforce issues. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, Kelly noted that we work with a ton of different agencies, but if we're not working with them, we will. And you're right about the COVID numbers. We can track back to hospitalizations. We have been lucky, I would say, of the 122, less than 10% resulted in hospitalizations. We'll get the exact number.
And those numbers go back to, that's the start.
That's
the start of it. It's not recent.
No. And we follow the pandemic line. We peaked the same months that the numbers peaked, and with the variant, the early fall, it's not been that great. It's not been that great here. Summer was quiet. I would imagine that the winter will be a little higher than the summer. I don't Duly noted.
Do we lose a lot of employees to not getting vaccinated or tested? Just out of curiosity. No. So that was a false thing. Okay.
Oh, yeah, and listen, it was intentional. We don't even use the word mandate anymore. We just stopped using it. You know, we don't want to fire anybody. We don't want to lose anybody. Now, personally, I think that approach doesn't, it's already proven it doesn't work. If you're out to fire people, you'll have people lined up who want to challenge you. We've had some issues. I mean, I don't want to paint too rosy of a picture. There are issues, right? There are challenges with this thing, but I think softening the use of the word mandate, at least here, has been very helpful.
And it's really not a mandate because we do allow the weekly testing option. And we've also been, we've been getting in religious exemption packets from people. Not that that will exempt them from weekly testing, but at least it's a way for them to inform us of, you know, their beliefs and what their reasons are for not wanting to be vaccinated. So, but yeah, most people have been pretty cooperative.
Listen, we're not going to get to 100. We're realists. Let's get to 85 in the next month, we'll be really happy. You know, but to watch this go from 55 to 80 like a rocket ship, that was very interesting to me. You got to push some people. So, you know, some people are procrastinators. Some people are, you know, whatever, right? But the intention here, we're not doing this just because we want to be tough guys and gals. We're doing this because we need to keep everybody safe. And as Mark said, there is no disputing that the vaccine either keeps you out of the hospital, or if you have to go to the hospital, you can be treated and you're sent home.
Yeah.
There is no disputing that. You know, does it keep you safe from COVID? Well, it gets a little dicey there. But there's no disputing that. That's really what we're trying to do. Keep people out of the hospital. You're sick for a couple days. I'm sorry about that. We can manage that. That's it for me.
Okay. Thank you, Connor. Anybody else want to pepper Connor with some questions?
I got tons of help here. Tons of help. Bring it on.
I'd like to mention Jamie and her tutu at the Think Paint Store.
Many of us were.
Somebody might have to go to diversity.
But to be honest with you, it was fun. And there was a lot of kids there, and a lot of cookies, popcorn, and very worthwhile.
Great job, Ed. Any other board comments before we adjourn? Our next board meeting will be in December. Actually, board and committee meetings will be in December. We have our board retreat on November 19th. So,
just a note on that, if I could.
Yeah.
So, you know, Mark Ash is set. Some of you know Mark, but what we're really trying to get done here is to get ourselves back to that really detailed discussion about, you know, who we are, what we do, how we measure it, and then how we depict it. You know, you're down in testimony with the assembly. You know, they want to know about ridership. Well, when you say something like we're 60% of where we were post-pandemic, or even 80%, well, then why should we be funding? You know, why should we give you state money? So we all agree that we want to change it. Mark, right now, I'd say, is one of the leaders in our industry and starting to examine this. He's not there yet. We're working with him on inputs. But some of this stuff is really hard. You know, ridership is a number. This is what we just talked about, the pink buses and pink. That's not a number. So how do you put that on the dashboard in a way that it's, you know, understandable? And so those are the kinds of things. And I think the board is way ahead of some other people. And then you want to bring in Moss, some of these other things that we're talking about. Well, how do they stack up? you know, cycle ridership is great, 61,000 season to date. We do 61,000 rides on the fixturing system in a day and a quarter, even, you know, during the pandemic. So how do you, those are the kinds of things we'll talk about. Looking forward to it. We'll get you exact times as we get a little closer.
So the next meeting of the board is December 22nd, 12 noon, right here at 110 Waterville Avenue via Microsoft Teams. If there's no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Approved. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a good Thanksgiving.